Okay, so this is the WebQuest for Romanticism Poetry Project for Mrs. Smith's AP English Literature and Composition class. So first things first, we have our introduction, which just lays out a role play right here, basically laying out that you will be a poet writing a poem, but before you can do that, you just need to do some research as well as analysis on some other romantic poets and their works. There's a short video here that just gives a quick rundown of Romanticism and what kind of created the movement to kind of give a basic background. We have tasks, which gives a very short, brief rundown of what the project will consist of in terms of parts of the research section here, the analysis section, the construction section of my own personal poem, as well as a group feedback phase, and ultimately a presentation. Part one of the process is the research. I have a website resource that is provided so I can pick 3 romantic poets and then subsequently choose a poem for each of my 3 poets that I pick. Once I've selected those, I go into this research chart here and I just fill out this information chart as well as indicate my selected poem for each of my 3 authors and then submit that as directed on the WebQuest. Part 2 includes analysis, where I can use this website resource to just gain some understanding on how to analyze poetry and what to look for when I am breaking down a poem. And then using that, I will then use this chart, which is a TP cast or title, paraphrase, connotation, attitude, shifts, title, and theme chart to just really break down the poem in a much more specific, concrete, and in-depth manner so that I can gain a full understanding of each poem. I will complete one of these charts for each of the 3 poems that I have previously selected in part 1. And once that is done, again, I will submit it as laid out in the instructions during the process. Part 3 is where I construct my own original poem, following these guidelines laid out here, including length, emphasis, themes that should be included, as well as literary devices, as well as just some restrictions in terms of content area. I can write as many drafts as I want, and I also have a couple website resources here, which gives some tips on how to write and some inspiration, as well as another one here, which gives some different ways to become inspired. And then finally, once I have my poem finished and ready to go, I've written a couple drafts and I'm confident in it, I will type up my full length poem into this and submit it as outlined in the instructions here. For part 4, I will then download this group evaluation and read my personal poem aloud to the group. And as I hear my other group members read, I will give feedback in each of these categories of literary devices, creativity, and just generic feedback about my opinion and just any advice that I would give. Each of the group members will then share their thoughts and feedback that they place in this chart for each member after they read. After I have completely heard all of the feedback for me and I spent some time thinking on my own, I will then complete this poem self-evaluation chart. Just spend some time thinking and contemplating on how I can improve my work. And then we'll update and give some revisions and corrections to my poem to kind of focus it and just improve it and keep that type of that original poem in the updated version here and then submit that. Finally, after we've completed that evaluation stage, I will then present it completely memorized in front of the entire class. I can look at this rubric provided to give me some guidelines of what will be expected of me in terms of eye contact, body language, elocution, which is just speaking clearly and correctly, as well as showing enthusiasm and just being an overall energetic presenter so that the audience knows that I care about that. I'll print this off and bring this to class so that I can then get graded on that during my presentation. There's also some tips that are provided here in this video that just kind of help with oral speaking anxiety that can happen. And then finally, we have the evaluation, which just gives the basic rubric of the overall project and lays out the different point values from 0 to 20 points in each of the 5 project stages, adding up for 20 points per part, which leads to a whole total of 100, which would then convert over to a percentage. So I can very easily and quickly determine the grade that I am going for, as well as how to achieve it, as well as be able to understand whenever their teacher returns it to me with my grade selected, understand what I did, what I can improve on, as well as easily see what my final grade will be. And then finally, at the end of this project, I will be, in this role play, at least a published poet, as well as in real life, have been educated a little bit more on Romanticism and its movement, its poetry, and some of its authors, as well as have a little bit of experience with constructing my own poetry.